Who knows what foaling is? Foaling, some of you, awesome. Praise the Lord. So foaling is exactly what it sounds like. It's the combination of football and bowling. Hence the word foaling. So foaling was introduced to me about a year ago, and I was like, I want to try that. That sounds awesome. So my brother and I have been wanting to get together for a while and just hang out, as brothers, have a brother night. And we did that this past Friday evening, and we went foaling. There's this place in Cascade called Foaling Warehouse. Highly recommend it. Wonderful evening. And so what it is you have 10 bowling pins set up, 10 actual bowling pins. And then about from where I'm standing to the end of the church here is the distance that you're separated, and you have another 10 pins on the other side. And just kind of like cornhole and bags, you just throw your football until you get all your pins down. And whoever gets all the pins first wins. So, my brother and I both love to throw the football, both can throw a football pretty well, and we're thinking we're going to be pretty good at this. And we both throw back and forth, and for like the first three throws, we missed every pin. And we realized very quickly this is a little bit more difficult than it seems, but anyway, we finally got the hang of it, and we kept playing. And so, he got a pin, and then I got a few, and the first game, and he had 1 pin left, and I had 2. And I'm thinking, I got to show up on this throw. So I line it up, and I throw, and boom, nailed both of them. 1-0, Stephen. Then we played another game, the second game, and similar thing happened. I think we were about even, and I had 3 pins that were in a row, and lined it up, threw it, and I nailed all 3. 2-0. Praise the Lord. Third game, we're playing, and I was in trouble. I had a pin here, and I had a pin here, and I had a pin here. And I thought, oh no, there's no one throw, get me out of trouble card right now. And Dave, I think my brother David had two pins left, and he was in a much better situation. So I lined up, and I threw, and I was just aiming for the center one, and hit this one, knocked the pin to hit this one, football ricocheted and nailed this one, and I won the third time. It was amazing. It was amazing. What was even better was my brother's reaction. Right after I hit it, he just goes, oh. And he says, I just want to win one time. I've got to get you back at least once. I got to level the score. I got to get you back. I got to get even. Those were his phrases. And, we played a few more times, and he did win one time. I'm sure he'll appreciate that story that I told today, but it's all true. It's all true. Well, we do. We like to get even, don't we? We love it. Another good example of this, I've mentioned this game before, but Settlers of Catan. You don't need to really know anything about the game, but there's this piece called the robber. And you occasionally are able to move this thing, and you move the robber and you steal from somebody that you place the robber on, okay? Well, what happens almost every time that you play this game is the moment that you're stolen from, you start waiting. You cannot wait for your chance to get that person back. So the moment you can move the robber, you place it right back at the person who stole from you, and I'm taking from you, Why? Because we like to get even. We like to get even. Well, Jesus is talking about that this weekend. We, as Christians, we're no different than every other human being in the world. We like to get even. And we know this in every way when we think about our lives. You think about someone who passes you on the road. If you're like me, they pass you. Well, I'm passing you. Yeah, I got to win. If someone says something mean, what do we want to do? We want to say something mean back. Parents, you know this well, I'm sure. You catch one of your children hitting the other, and you say, hey, knock that off. They hit me first. A lot of times is the response, right? Well, I caught you. Sorry, you're in trouble. But they hit me first. I got to get them back. I had to stick up for myself or whatever. We do this not just as children, but as adults. Someone hurts us, we want to hurt them back. This getting even thing is deeply ingrained in us. Well, a lot of times I like to use something from pop culture to make my point, but this week, really I think the best place to go is the Old Testament. The story of Joseph and his brothers. Now, just to refresh our memory a bit here, Jacob has 12 sons. Joseph is number 11. And Joseph is the youngest at this time. He has another one coming later, but he's the youngest brother, and his other 10 brothers despise him. Why? Because they think that because he's the youngest, he's the favorite. Anyone ever felt that before? Yeah. Sometimes the youngest is just seen as the favorite, and the siblings get mad and envious and frustrated. And Joseph's brothers are no different. And so what do they decide to do? They decide it's time to get rid of him. That's how much their hatred, that's how far it went. They wanted to get rid of their brother. So they came up with this plan to leave their brother at the bottom of a well, a dried up well, and just leave him there. Well, of course, what happens later is they find these people coming and they sell their brother. Can you imagine that? They sell their brother into slavery. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine the feeling of rejection Joseph felt to be sold into slavery by his brothers. Well, of course, long story short, because of certain fortunate circumstances, Joseph is now working with Pharaoh. He's an advisor. Why? Because he's got this wonderful ability to dream about the future and interpret things that are going to happen. And so Pharaoh uses him to take care of his people. And of course, we know what happens later is there's this great famine that impacts the people, and there's all this hunger. And so people have to go to Pharaoh to receive rations. And wouldn't you know it, who comes for help but Joseph's brothers? And now Joseph, the one who has the control and the authority to hand out food, is in this situation where his brothers, the ones who rejected him, are in need of his grace and mercy, really. And what does he do? The first thing Joseph does is he wants to get even. And he says to them, before you can have your rations, go home and bring back your youngest brother. He's trying to set them up, right? And of course, the brothers leave and they're freaking out because they think, oh my goodness, our sin has been found out. And then they return with the youngest brother. And Joseph meets for the first time his younger brother. And he's thinking, oh my goodness, there's someone I didn't even know in my family. And not to get bogged down by the details, but the beautiful thing is Joseph decides, I'm not going to hold on to anger and unforgiveness anymore. And he says to his brothers, it's me, I'm Joseph. And I see now that God put me here so that not only I could help our people, but so that I could help my family. And there was this beautiful moment of reconciliation and forgiveness between Joseph and his brothers. All because Joseph was willing to let it go. To not continue to this journey, this never-ending cycle of getting even with the other person. And it's a wonderful encouragement for us. But here's the danger for us as Christians. Jesus says, love your enemy. Love those who don't do good things to you. Well, here's the thing. It's easy for us to let ourselves off the hook because enemy is such a exaggerated word that we think, oh, well, you know, I'm glad that I don't really have to offer forgiveness to someone who's killed a lot of people or some of these really evil monsters that we've seen in our world. You know, maybe someone who's, you know, think of the Twin Towers, right? Someone who's caused great destruction. But Jesus isn't talking about that type of enemy for each of us. He's talking about those close to us. The enemy could simply be a spouse, an ex-spouse, a sibling, a strained friendship, but it's someone close to us that God desires for us to stop trying to get even, but to offer forgiveness. And so Jesus' words are very clear, but very difficult. If we want to be good Christians, to live discipleship as Christians well, we can't be people who live like sinners, who live like the rest of the world. who are just okay with the status quo of I can just get even with you because you hurt me first. That is never okay in the Christian life. And so the thing for us to reflect and pray about in our own hearts is this: am I being a Christian of integrity? In other words, do I not just do I not just profess God's reconciling love, do I live it? Am I willing to truly end the cycle of getting even and hurting other people and offering new life and forgiveness to those closest to us?